girls, children of all ages. Welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm Robert. Alright, NCAA Week 14. Championship weekend in college football. We have 16 games in the slate this week. We have all 10 conference title games. We have a few other games to wrap up the regular season. There's one more week in the season. The annual Army versus Navy game next week. And then we're off to bowl season and the Final Four playoffs. Now, throughout the first 13 weeks, Robert Sports Show has done 425 win-loss games. I am 314 and 111. During that time, I've also done 402 games against the spread and the over-under. Against the spread, I'm 182 and 220 on the year. And on the over-under, I am 203 and 199. Last week, week 13, I decided to go, let's do all 64 games on the slate. I was 44 and 20 on win-loss, 25 and 39 against the spread, and 36 and 28 on the over-under. Alright, now we have 7 teams with either one loss or undefeated. And I've kind of wondered a little bit on exactly where are these teams at, strength of schedule, point differential and all that. Because I look at the UCF Knights, they are 11 and 0. Their schedule, their strength of schedule is their opponents are 72 and 81 in the season. So I'm like, okay. But the Ohio State Buckeyes, their opponents are 75 and 81. Oh, okay. So the Knights are kind of right there. They actually have a bigger point differential than the Buckeyes at 260 to 210. But I think right now, Alabama's the number one team by far. They're undefeated at 12 and 0. They have a 423 point differential. Their opponent's record is 84 and 70. Win or lose, they're in. Clemson Tigers 12 and 0. They have a strength of schedule of 87 and 65. Their opponents are. They've got a point differential of 380. I think if they lose to Pittsburgh, they'll need help. They'll need some other teams to do something for them to get in. I think the committee will put them in, but I don't think they'll completely deserve it. Third, we have Notre Dame 12 and 0. They have no game this week. They're a non-conference team. They're an independent. But they're in the playoffs, probably? How's that work? They're 12 and 0. Their opponents' winning percentage is 75 and 67 and 53%. They have a point differential of 198. Fourth, Georgia. They're 11 and 1 right now. They have a strength of schedule of their opponents are 95 and 59 with a 620 winning percentage for their opponents. They have a 275 point differential. If they can pull off the miracle and beat Alabama, they're in. So is Alabama. Oklahoma 11 and 1. I think they're going to need help to get in. They're going to need a Georgia loss. And I think of the one-loss teams between Oklahoma, Ohio State, and UCF, I think Oklahoma is the best shot at making it. Ohio State's next, and then UCF is how I get the top 7 going. All right, let's dive into these games. First game, we have the Mid-America Conference game, the MAC Conference Championship game. Northern Michigan Huskies at 7 and 5 versus the Buffalo Bulls at 10 and 2. North Illinois is 6 and 2 in the MAC this year, while the Buffalo Bulls are 7 and 1 in conference. Buffalo favored by 4. I got them winning, covering the 4 and over on the 49.5. Next, we have the Pac-12 title game. We have the Utah Utes at 9 and 3, coming out of the Pac-12 South. Out of the Pac-12 North, we have the 9 and 3 Washington Huskies. The Utes are 6 and 3 in conference, while the Huskies are 7 and 2 in conference. Huskies are favored by 4.5 at home. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 43. Next, we have the Big 12 title game. The first Big 12 title game in a few years. We have the Texas Longhorns at 9 and 3 versus the 11 and 1 Oklahoma Sooners. The Longhorns are 7 and 2 in the Big 12, while the Sooners are 8 and 1. Now, this is a rematch from October 6th, where Texas won 48-45. So Oklahoma's only loss was to Texas. Sooners are favored by 7.5 at home. I in over under of 78. I have the Sooners winning. I have Texas covering the 7.5. And I'm taking over on the 78. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, just like it was in October. If Oklahoma wants any shot at making the Final Four playoffs again, they have to win this. An Oklahoma loss here, they're done. There's no way. Next, we have the Marshall Thunder and Herd 8-3 versus the Virginia Tech Hokies at 5-6. The Hokies favored by 4.5. I do have them winning, covering, and over on the 53. Next, we have the East Carolina Pirates at 3-8 versus the North Carolina Wolfpack 8-3. The Wolfpack favored by 24 at home. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 16.5. Next, we have the Akron Zips 4-7 versus the South Carolina Gamecocks 6-5. Gamecocks favored by 29. I have the Zips covering at 29 and under on the 56. Next, we have the Drake Bulldogs 7-3 versus the Iowa State Cyclones 7-4. I got Iowa State winning. And next, we have the Sun Belt Conference Championship. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns at 7-5 versus the 9-4 Appalachian State Mountaineers. The Cajuns are 5-3, coming out of the Sun Belt West, 5-3 in conference. Coming out of the Sun Belt East, the Appalachian State is 7-1 in conference. Appalachian State is favored by 17.5. I have them winning. I have the Raging Cajuns covering at 17.5. I'm taking over on the 59. Next, the ACC title game. We have the undefeated 12-0 Clemson Tigers versus the 7-5 Pittsburgh Steelers. Tigers are 8-0 in ACC Atlantic. And coming out of the ACC Coastal, the Pittsburgh Panthers are 6-2 in conference. Clemson is favored by 25.5. I have Clemson winning, covering the 25.5 and over on the 55.5. If Clemson were to lose this game, I don't know. I wouldn't put him in. Because you lose to a 7-5 Pittsburgh team when you've been so dominant all year long. Next, we have the Conference USA title game. We have the University of Alabama Birmingham Blazers at 9-3 versus the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders at 8-4. Both teams are 7-1 in conference. Middle Tennessee is favored by 2.5. I'm actually giving it 2.5 to UAB. I got the Blazers winning, covering the 2.5 and over on the 45. Next, we have the Norfolk State Spartans at 4-6 versus the Liberty Flames at 5-6. Liberty Flames winning. Next, we have the Stanford Cardinal 7-4 versus the California Golden Bears 7-4. Stanford favored by 2.5 on the road. I'm giving the 2.5 to the Golden Bears at home. Get them winning, covering, and over on the 48.5. Next, we have the American Conference title game. The Memphis Tigers at 8-4 versus the University of Central Florida Knights at 11-0. As we all know, the Knights starting quarterback went down with a knee injury. He will not be here. Knights are 8-0 in conference, while the Tigers are 5-0 in conference. The Knights are favored by 4.5. A lot would have to happen, I think, for the Knights in order to get into the Final Four. Not only would they have to dominate this game, they beat Memphis back in October 13, 31-30. They would have to just literally slaughter Memphis, like 40-0 or something stupid. Have Clemson lose. Let's see my scenario here. So Clemson would have to lose, Georgia lose, Oklahoma lose, and Ohio State lose, and UCF win, in order for there to be even a sniffing chance of UCF making the Final Four playoffs. So UCF have to dominate, and Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, and Oklahoma all lose. And then what the hell is the committee going to do? Put in a 2-loss team or undefeated team? I do have UCF winning. I got them covering the 4.5, and I'm taking under on the 70.5. Next, we have the ACC title game. We have the Alabama Crimson Tide at 12-0 versus the 11-1 Georgia Bulldogs. What would have happened if Georgia would not have lost LSU, and this would have been undefeated versus undefeated? So in the SEC this year, the Alabama Crimson Tide 8-0, the Bulldogs 7-1. of the 4 common opponents. So Missouri, Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn. Alabama dominated. They're 4-0. They outscored their opponent from 178 to 52. Georgia was 3-1 to those foes, only outscoring 124 to 87. The only possibility Georgia has to win this game is if they take Tui out. If they legit knock Tui out of the game. Concussion, whatever. That's the only shot that Georgia has of winning this. Bama is favored by 13.5. With an over-under of 64.5. Can't go against Bama. That's Nick Saban. Got the Crimson Tide winning. I got them covering the 13.5. And I'm taking over on the 64.5. This is going to be a fucking slaughter. Next, Mountain West Conference Championship game. We have the Fresno State Bulldogs 10-2 versus the Boise State Broncos 10-2. Both teams 7-1 in the Mountain West this year. Boise State favored by 2.5. I have them winning, covering, and over on the 50. Next, we have the Big Ten title game. We have the Northwestern Wildcats 8-4 versus the Ohio State Buckeyes 11-1. Both teams 8-1 in the Big Ten. Ohio State favored by 2 touchdowns at home. I got the Buckeyes winning. I got the Buckeyes covering, and I'm taking over on the 59.5. So that wraps up NCAA Week 14 Championship Weekend. So right now, my prediction for the Final Four. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, the Sooners. They have a better loss than Ohio State. Not that I think any loss is a good loss, but Texas versus, West Virginia versus Purdue. Yeah, we all know Oklahoma has a better loss. Same kind of team. That's the Final Four. But just for shits and grins, I would love to see Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State all lose. Just to spark all the controversy and all the shit that would spark. That would be fun to me. Alright, it's been a great season on Rubber Sports Show. We'll have a preview of Week 15, Navy versus Army. And then I'll also have my playoff preview and along with the picks against the spread over under on all the bowl games. So we have three more shows for 2018 for Rubber Sports Show, NCAA College Football. Anybody's tuned in this year for the first time, thank you. I appreciate all the views. Hopefully next year we'll go bigger and better on views. Definitely check out the rest of the year on the NFL stuff. If you're a NASCAR fan, if you're a pro wrestling fan, make sure you check all that out. And also check out the second video I put up in 2018. It was a NCAA realignment. Definitely check that out. Go to YouTube, Rubber Sports Show, go do videos. You have to maybe go down a little bit. Find that video, check it out. It's what I would do if I was redoing the NCAA. So I may end up reposting that again at the end of the year, right for the playoffs. Kind of redo it a little bit, kind of freshen it up, and throw it up there again. We'll see what happens with that. But anyway, thanks for watching Rubber Sports Show. It's been a great year. Stay tuned to Rubber Sports Show for all the NFL and all the bowl games for the NCAA. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Rubber Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports show content.